about the warm-up here. We had to name 3 points, name 2 lines, and another name for plane G. Is anybody willing to share their answer for the 3 points? You can unmute yourself or type in the chat. What'd you get for 3 points? All right, A, K, and B works. Yeah, pretty much any points, E, B, K, A, D, or C. Those are all points in these planes. The only ones that are not points are G and F because those are names of planes. All right, 2 lines. Anyone got 2 lines? Feel free to either type in the chat or unmute and talk. All right, AK is 1. Yeah, so line AK. Remember, we use 2 letters to name a line, or 2 points to name a line. So point A and point K are on this line, so AK would work for this one. And then the other line is this one down here. DC or CD would work to name that line. Yep, exactly, Cheyenne. Perfect. Okay. And then another name for plane G. What else could we call plane G? Any ideas? Okay, yeah, ABE, I like that one. Okay, ABE would work. We have to pick 3 points, and there was that one thing, they had to be non-collinear, if we remember from yesterday. The non-collinear part's important here because there is a line with 3 points on it right here. We cannot use these 3 because they're all on the same line. But we can use, so pretty much we have to involve point E for this one. So you could use ABE or AKE or KBE. Any of those would work. Cool. Okay. Any questions before we move on to today's lesson? All right. If at any point you have a question, either type in the chat or unmute yourself and say something. Here we go. I am going to open this so you can actually see the notes. All right. All right, here we go. So today we're continuing in 1.1, and we're also going to get to a little bit of 1.2. So we're going to call this 1.1/1.2. Today we're going to be talking about intersections, and measurement. Okay, and by the end of class today, we want to be able to, we want to be able to identify intersections of points, lines, and planes. And then we also want to be able to measure objects using a ruler. All right. So the measure objects using a ruler one might feel like we're going back to 2nd grade, but it's an important skill. And believe it or not, there's quite a few people out there who still have a hard time with that. So we are going to go over that again. And make sure that we're all ready to roll with that. Okay. So for intersections, and first we have to talk about what it means for 2 things to intersect. So For these notes today, I'm going to put kind of a category over here and then talk about it over here. So for intersecting, that is when two things touch. So whether that's 2 points touch or a line, two lines intersecting or touching, a point touching a line touching a plane touching another plane. We're going to talk about what happens when things intersect, when they touch. So a lot of times pictures for that will look like this, where you have, crossing lines, or it'll look like a plane with like a line kind of poking through it. So you'll see like a dotted part where it's supposed to be poking up through it. One image we could kind of get in our minds here is, if you had a piece of paper and that's your plane, and a pencil is poking up through it and the pencil's the line or something like that. So just kind of thinking about what happens when intersections happen. Okay, so there's a couple different kind of standard things that happen when certain types of objects intersect. So we're going to talk about what happens when a line intersects another line. Okay, so when a line intersects another line. So that's this picture that we have going up here, where we've got two lines and they are crossing. And the thing that we want to talk about is kind of the object that happens at that intersection. So let's call this one line L and we'll call this one line M. When two lines intersect, they intersect at only one specific spot, and that spot is a point. So when a line intersects a line, it's always at a point every time. So if lines are touching, it's at a point, unless they're the same line. If it's like line L and line M are the same, they're lying right on top of each other. That's not truly an intersection, though. That's more that they're just the same line. So we'll just say that they intersect at a point. And then if we were going to talk about this using words, we would say line L intersects line M, and then we'll call this point A. At point A. So that's how we would describe this picture. Okay. So that's what happens when a line intersects another line. Next thing we've got is when a line intersects a plane. Okay, so for this one, there's actually two possible pictures that we could get. First picture is a lot like this one up here, where the line is like poking up through the plane. So let's draw that picture first. So we'll call this plane R. And we're going to have a line poking through. And we'll call the line that's poking through line L. Okay. So in this picture, the line is poking through the plane and it's only intersecting it at one spot. At that one point right there. So we'll call that point B. So when a line intersects a plane, one possibility is that it intersects at a point, if we're seeing a picture like this. So we could have a point, And we could describe this as line L and plane R intersect at point B. But there is one other possibility. So the other possibility here is kind of like the picture that we saw in our warm-up, where the line was just like laying down flat in the plane. So our second option is something like this, where we've got a plane, we'll call it plane Q, and we have a line just laying down in it. So if we're trying to think about where this line is touching the plane, it's touching it at all points on the line, right? The whole entire line is touching the plane. So our other option here is a line. So a line and a plane could intersect at a point or at a line. So it's a point if only one point on the line is touching the plane. It's the whole line if the entire line is laying down in the plane. Okay. So we could say for this one, line AB and plane Q, and you don't really need to say line again, but anyway, line AB and plane Q intersect at line AB. Okay. Then we have one last possible set of things that could intersect, and that's a plane and another plane. So when a plane intersects another plane. All right, so plane intersects plane. Okay, so for this one, there's only one real thing that could happen here, but there's kind of two common pictures of how we can describe this sort of thing happening, because drawing planes is always a little bit dicey. So the first way that you might see, or the first type of problem that you might see with this, is if you've got like a cube or a rectangular prism, something like that. So we're going to go ahead and draw something like that real quick. So getting our square on the front. Because the book really likes to use three-dimensional shapes to talk about planes and intersections of planes. So I'm going to label my corners A, B, C, D, and then E, F, G. Okay. So we might be asked something like, where does plane ABC intersect with plane DEF? So we're going to describe this plane ABC intersects plane DEF. And the way that I like to kind of figure out where two planes intersect is to kind of shade the planes that we're talking about. So ABC is the front face because A, B, and C are all on the front. So I'm going to shade that one real quick. And then plane DEF, is plane DEF the top or the side? What do we think? Type in the chat. Is DEF the top or the side? Yep, we got it. It's the top. So plane DEF is the top, so we'll shade that one. And now we're trying to figure out, where do these two planes touch? What do they have in common? And it turns out they both touch right here at this line. So plane ABC intersects plane DEF at line 80. So when a plane intersects with another plane, it is at a line every time. Okay. I will show you one other common way that this sort of a picture is drawn, two planes intersecting, just so we see the other kind of common occurrence of this. The other way that we might see this is, this one's a little bit interesting to draw, but we've got something like that. So it's kind of like if you imagine, I've got one somewhere around here, maybe. Yes. If you have like a file folder, and these are your two planes is your file folder, and then this intersection is the line, so this is one plane and this is the other plane. That's kind of the picture that we've got going here. So I'm going to call this plane P, and we'll call this plane Q. And this is point A and point B. So plane P intersects with plane Q all along this line here. So that would be line AB, because that's the line that they touch at. So we could say planes P and Q intersect at AB. Okay. So that's pretty much everything with intersections. Those are all the possibilities of what could happen when things intersect. Give everyone a moment to catch up writing here. Okay. The last thing in the notes for today is going to have to do with using a ruler. So I'm going to grab another piece of paper here. Okay. So if you have a ruler with you, great. If you don't have a ruler, that's okay. I'm going to put one up on the screen here. So there's two different units on most rulers. We've got inches and we've got centimeters. So let's talk about inches first. All right. So let's say this is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. There's a lot of different markings on rulers. So first they break them up into half inches. That's the longest line. So if we had something that went out to here, that would be 1/2 inch long. Okay, so that's usually the simplest one. Beyond that, we've got the 1/4 inch lines. So this is 1/4. And then the half line is like 2/4. So this one is 3/4. And I'm not going to mark that for every single one of these because it'll get a little bit crowded after a bit here. Okay. So we've got the 4ths. Then we've got the 1/8ths that go in between each of the 4ths. I'll make them a little bit longer because we've got to go down one more step. So this would be 1/8. And then 1/4 is like 2/8. The third line over is 3/8. 4/8, 5/8. 6/8, 7/8. Okay. And then the tiniest of all of them, the 16ths. I'm going to put these on the bottom side because it's going to get real crowded here. So between each 1/8, there is a 16th. So we're just cutting things in half, cutting them in half again, and so on. So we've got 1/16, 2, 3/16. So it's kind of going odd numbers here. 4/16, 5/16, 6, 7/16. 8/16 is the 1/2 line. 9/16. 11/16. 13/16. And the last one is that little tiny 15/16. Okay. So most rulers are broken out this way. Occasionally in books or on worksheets, you'll see rulers that are broken out into with an inch, and they'll have like 10 little pieces in the middle. It'll be broken out into 10 pieces. So then you would be counting in tenths of inches and things like that, but that's not the norm. Okay, so if I was going to measure something in inches, let me find something we can measure here. We'll measure the pen cap. Okay. So for this one, since you don't have the ruler and the pen cap there, you're going to have to just kind of look at this and imagine we are measuring. Okay. So let's say it goes out to here on my ruler. That looks about right. Okay. So first of all, we have to think, is this a half, a fourth, an eighth, or a 16th when we're looking at this one? Or you could also just count. Since this whole thing is broken out into 16 pieces, you can count how many lines it is to that one. So we know we've got 2 inches already. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines over. So it's 5 lines over. Since it's broken out into 16 pieces, it's 2 5/16. If we could reduce this fraction, we would. But since 5/16 does not reduce, that's our answer. The pen cap is 2 5/16 inches. And the abbreviation for inches is like the quotes. Or you could say inches like that. You could write out the whole word inches if you want to. Whatever you want to do there. Okay. Let's measure one other thing. Let's measure the whole pen. And I'll move this over so we can all see it. Okay, this one looks like it goes out to about here. So we have 6 total inches. And then we have 1, 2. This is the second line over. So 2/16. But does 2/16 reduce? Gotta remember our fractions here. Yeah, this one divides by 2 on the top and the bottom, right? They both divisible by 2. So I can rewrite this as 6 1/8 inches. So you can count over 2 lines and, it's 2/16, but then you want to make sure you reduce the fraction there. So inches are typically broken up into 16ths on most rulers. Okay, then the flip side. We've got centimeters. Centimeters are a lot easier to deal with because they're not broken out into 16ths and things like that, or at least I think they're easier to deal with. If we've got a ruler with centimeters here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 centimeters. When you break out centimeters, a lot of times they'll have like a longer line for the half in the middle. But centimeters are broken out into 10 pieces. And 10 pieces, since we're in a base 10 system of numbers, is a lot easier to work with. So here's the halfway, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And those little tenth of a centimeters are also known as millimeters. Okay, so if we're going to measure something in centimeters, you could say like 3 centimeters and 4 millimeters, or you could say 3.4 centimeters, or you could say 3 4/10 centimeters. Those would all be the same thing. So you could say something like 3 centimeters and 4 millimeters. You could say 34 millimeters. You could say 3.4 centimeters, or you could say 3 4/10 centimeters. Those are all saying the same thing. The way I tend to like to do it is with the decimal way, because then you're just writing one number and it's all expressed in centimeters. Okay, so let's measure something in centimeters real quick. We'll measure the pen cap in centimeters. Okay. So let's see. We've got 5 centimeters. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines over. So that would be 5.9 centimeters for the pen cap. Okay, so that's measurement in inches and measurement in centimeters. I know it's probably kind of hard to do online, especially if you don't have a ruler with you. But the nice thing is the worksheet that we'll do tomorrow on the online textbook will have a ruler that is provided online. And then also the one on the IXL section provides a ruler and, holds it up to the object and everything. So that part is nice. Okay. Any questions before we move on and try getting into the online textbook? Okay. If we have questions, feel free to type in the chat. In the meantime, we are going to go ahead and open a window of Symbaloo and go to Clever. So you can click the home button on your Chromebook to get to the Symbaloo page. I have to do an extra step off of that. So going from here to Clever. Once you open up Clever, we're going to click on Big Ideas Learning. If you don't have it up here in your favorites, it might be down here somewhere under More Apps. Or you can also click on the Miss Lindell's resource page. That should also come up with a link for Big Ideas. Or you can even get to it, I believe, off of my teacher page. But anyway, that's the one we're going to click. Big Ideas Math. And it will come up with some kind of a dashboard for you guys. So just kind of exploring in here, there's a lot of different things that the Big Ideas book has. If you took algebra at Auburn Riverside last year or at the middle schools in Auburn, they probably used the Big Ideas book and the online book and everything. So if you don't have a physical copy of the book, you can click on this and look at the ebook. You can click on the 3 lines up here, and it'll take you to things like you can click on the book itself, and that's another way to get to the ebook. You can click on resources. There's all kinds of different things that are available to you guys if you click around a little bit. The one big thing that should show up for you is assignments. And it might be, if you might have to scroll down a little bit to find assignments on your guys' version. I'm not entirely sure what your screen looks like on this. For me, assignments pops up on the top. For you guys, I think assignments is like the bottom left, if I remember right. And if things haven't changed. Anyway, today's assignment is called Practice 1.1. So, that's part of today's assignment. The second part of today's assignment is an IXL section that I will post a link to in Google Classroom. Today's assignment will also have a link to the Big Ideas assignment as well. So if you are in Google Classroom, you can either click on this to get to your Big Ideas assignment. Just make sure that you click Login with Clever, or you can log in with Clever and go to the online book. And then we have one IXL section. It is a 4th grade one about measurement. So we have that as well. Make sure you click on, or make sure you log into IXL and log in with Clever for that. Then it will save your progress. Okay. You guys have, let's see, classes over at 10:55. You guys have the next, we'll go till 10:50. At 10:50, come back to the group and we'll do one last thing. If you have questions, stick around. If you're not sure how to get somewhere, please stick around and let me help you out with that. Otherwise, come back at 10:55. You can leave the Google Meet open, or you are welcome to exit out just as long as you come back. See you at 10:50. Sorry, not 10:55, 10:50.